All right, as I mentioned to you yesterday, as I get done with the lectures, you can see this. So this is the lecture I did yesterday. All right, AWD1000 Chapter 1 lecture, and we're going to do a few things, and then we're going to go over Chapter 2. So when we get done with that, those will be here also. See what I'm saying? And I try to put the newest ones first. Okay, so you'll see that stuff out here today. What I'd like you to do, please, everybody knows when I talk about going into your search bar down here, you know how to get there, correct? All right. I don't know how it's going to work for yours, so you probably know this better than I do. Right now we're gonna load some software. Again, it should be agnostic, I believe, and I'm gonna have people load a simple editor. And if you don't want that, I know you can load like text edit. I know there's Wrangler, there's a few editors that you may or may not have in there. But for the rest of you, if you go down here and you go to Control Panel. Again, I don't remember. I haven't used a Mac for a couple of years. Okay. Okay. So once you go there, do you get something that looks like this? Okay. Because once you get that, again, yours may not be exactly the same as mine in here, but hopefully you have one that says Programs and Features. All right. Okay. Now, what I want you to do is take a look in here. Well, if you can go to wherever all of your programs, if you get a listing of where all the programs that are on your machine, that's what I'm looking for. All right. Now, again, what I'd like you to do is first you're going to have to arrow down in here a little bit. But if you notice, after I'm arrowing down, I'm close actually to the bottom. All right. You'll notice that I have Notepad there. See that? You may have it, you may not have it. And again, with yours, you may have Text Wrangler or
I have Notes.
I don't know what that is. So what I'm saying is, in a couple minutes, we're going to download Git, and it normally asks for a default editor to use. See what I'm saying? So I don't know what it's going to ask for the Mac. That's what I'm telling you. So I'm really not sure. Now, I'm going to assume you don't have Notepad. Okay? So, in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take mine and uninstall it so I can go through the whole process of doing this with you. All right? So it says, do I want to install it? Yes, I do. If you've already got it on yours, oh, it's because I've got it running, so I've got to close it. There. All right, try it again. There we go. So in just a minute, what you'll notice is it won't show here. It'll be gone. So would I like to continue? Would you like to keep your custom settings? No, I'm not going to worry about any of that. Looks like it's done, completed, close, and you see it's gone. Make sense to everybody? All right. Then what I'd like you to do is go to a browser window right here. And you can do this in so many ways. I can give you the address. All right, the URL, or you can just type in Notepad ++ download. And again, I'm not sure if there is one for Mac or not. I really, or Apple. I would do 4, I guess, that one. Okay. And if you look right here on the screen, are you seeing what I'm seeing here? You should be able to just click go to download. It's right there. Okay?
Well, apparently people are asking me things. I love Notepad++, but I understand it cannot be downloaded into Mac even though
How old is that?
4 years ago, my laptop is up to 6 years.
Yeah, boy.
But that doesn't, if the letter is 4 years ago, that doesn't mean you can't do it now. You may have to Google that to see whether or not you can. So again, I'm clicking go to download here. All right. And if you look here, one thing is it may scare you. You're like, well, why is there a 32-bit version? Why aren't we using the 60? It's not really going to matter. All right. Now, I will tell you, just so you hear this too, One thing about Notepad++, we are going to download a different code editor to use this morning. Okay? That said, if you don't like the code editor we're going to download, there's other ones I can suggest, and one of them you literally can use is Notepad++. All right. Some people like it. It's pretty intuitive. It's pretty simplistic. All right. So I'm just going to click the download. So I'm going to go down to here. If you look, don't click on this where it says start install. Go down to here, and you see that button? Just click it. You should be able to accept. It's going to bring the file down in here. At least on mine it does. Right there on my status bar. All right. I would just pick the newest one. Okay. Well, then you're either going to have to try an older one, or we're going to have to download a different editor. All right. My guess is in a couple minutes when we continue on and we download Git, it's probably going to. It may very well ask you for an editor that you want to use, and then it might give you a list. Then we can go back and do that. So again, once you do this, I'm hoping you have this file right here, which is the installer. You just right mouse click on it and choose open. And that should come up. All right. So it's saying, you want to make changes. Yes, you do. So you click yes. All you're going to do is accept all the defaults. So select the language, English, and it says, click next to continue. If you want, go ahead and read all that stuff. Otherwise, just click I agree. The default place to store it should be fine for you. So just click next again. Again, just keep all the defaults. That should be fine. Next again. And if you want a shortcut on your desktop, click here. And if you don't want a shortcut on your desktop, don't click that. All right. Don't worry about this. I have never played with it. This is a system setting. Just click install. And literally, it's done.
Rerun it?
Well, you can, and again, if you did put that up there, this is what it looks like. In fact, it should open like this. All right, but this is what I want to show you. You don't have to do this, okay? But I want to show you this, that it does have some color coding ability to it. So in other words, if I come through here and I do a file save as, and I'm just going to save this to my desktop, you don't have to do this. But I'm going to type in index.html. Oh, I already have one. Just call it test.html. All right, notice when I start typing, now it looks like, well, it's not doing anything. Well, give me a second. Now, when you put in your HTML tag, can you see how it's blue?
Yeah.
So it does do some color coding. It is a very, very, very simplistic editor. If that's what you're into, you're like, well, that's how it's easiest for me to learn, then by all means use it. The reason I'm having you download it is the next thing we're going to do is we're going to install Git. And Git typically comes up and says, what editor do you want to use as your default editor? And the recommendation is that you choose Notepad++. All right. So I'm just going to close this. Not saving it. Close that. Boom. All right. So that's the first thing. Again, as far as I can tell at least, that's pretty simplistic, right? All right. So next, I'm going to go back and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go back to Control Panel. And again, I'm going to go back to Programs and Features. I should have just left it open. And you'll notice that I have Git. Okay? It was installed about a year ago, so it's probably not the newest version. So again, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to right mouse click and I'm going to choose Uninstall. Exact same way I did it before. Are you sure you want to completely remove it? Yes. All right, it's been removed, and you notice if you look on the screen there, it's gone. All right, so I'm going to do the same type of thing that I just did. That is, I'm going to type git download. Now, this is where ours are going to change a little bit. Please look on the screen. I can click again, go to download. But notice, we want the Windows one, so we can choose right here. You want the Mac OS one, so you want to choose that one. Does that make sense to everybody? All right, so I'm just going to click here. If you clicked on Windows right here, you'd get to the same place. But notice I had 2.18. Now the newest is 2.23. All right. So I'm going to click download that. It says it's starting. The same kind of thing is happening right here. I've got a 1 because I already have a copy of it in my downloads folder. You probably won't have that. All right. So again, I'm going to right mouse click on this and say open. And that should open it like this once it's all been downloaded. You're going to find that this particular download can take about as long as the other one did. All right, except I want to walk you through the steps that are in here. So go ahead and click run. Yes. And it's going to start going through this. All right. So again, this is the license agreement. And I'm not going to ask you, do I read these things? Once in a while, but typically what I do is I highlight them, put them into a Word file and print them out and then glance at them later. All right. What you do have to watch out for if you're not aware of this is there are a lot of independent software packages. You might go like, oh, that's really cool. I'm going to download that. And when you click with that agreement, one of the things, not always, but sometimes you're agreeing to, is that you are giving your information, your login information to that company, and they can sell it to other companies. All right. Does that happen all the time? No, but it happens quite often. All right. So click next again. And now it says here, it says, where do you want to set this up? Well, again, it'll put it in your default program files area. For mine, it is program files. So that's fine.
But it can't be opened because it is from an unidentified developer.
Well, typically when that happens, it means you may not have admin rights on your own computer. So you'll have to make sure you can get those. So you may have to go back in and, I mean, do you download software on there all the time?
This is weird though, I don't know.
Is it like, you need an option to like bypass it?
No, but if you can just SourceForge.
Yeah, that's okay. SourceForge.net. What they're saying is that's considered to be a more trusting source. There's nothing wrong with the one we're using. There isn't. But you can download it from there as well. All right. So I'm going to click next. And notice it says the folder already exists. Would you like to install to that folder anyway? Mine exists because I had it there previously. And when I did the uninstall, it didn't remove the folder. I wasn't even aware of that. So sure. Now, it says select the components you want to install. Please look on the screen. You do want to make sure these two are checked. We're going to talk about these a little bit later. If for some reason under Windows Explorer integration, the Git Bash here and the Git GUI here, if one or both are unchecked, just check them. All right. Click next. And it says it'll create the program shortcuts. You know, it'll create basically a shortcut for you. If you don't want that, you can click here. Otherwise, just click next. Yes.
So actually, I clicked on the problem with downloading. Oh wait.
Now this one, don't click next yet. This one, I would suggest you click here and you choose Notepad++. Vin as an editor is a piece of junk. That's why I had to make sure that you had Notepad++. And yours, I mean, if you have any problems, what you're probably going to have to do then is go to your browser window and just type in like steps for downloading Git on my Mac or on my Apple machine. If you've changed it to use Notepad, Then click Next. All right. The stuff that's here, this gets to be a little bit confusing. Use Git from Git Bash only. Git from command line and also third-party software. Git and optional Unix tools for the command prompt. It's like, what? This, okay, basically it says it's going to make some changes to your system in order for you to be able to do that. My suggestion is you just take the default, which is the recommended. All right. Click Next. Now it says here what library you want to use. If you've never seen these before, and you probably have. I don't want to at all insult your intelligence. Those are called radio buttons. So only one of them can be chosen. All right. Just keep the default. Use the OpenSS library. All right. This occasionally we may have something where you're going to get a message back that says it converted this CR. If you don't know what this is, CRLF, CR is carriage return. LF is line feed. So when you hit enter on your machine, you're basically doing a CRLF, a carriage return line feed. The carriage return moves you to the next line. The line feed moves you to the beginning of the line. All right. Click Next again. And again, we're down to, it's terminal emulator. You probably will never even work with this. Just keep the default. Click Next again. All right. And it says, what about extra options? And the recommendation is that you enable caching and you enable the credential manager. You do not enable these symbolic links. So you click Next again. And it says there is an experimental built-in add-on. This makes it faster, especially at startup, but it's not yet considered robust. I'd leave it off then. Just click Install. I mean, it took longer to explain that to you than it does to install the software. All right.
You figured it out?
No, I don't know. Like I've been looking at different ways. It's not being done a little bit.
Did you Google it?
I did.
Yeah, I'm right there.
So I'll tell you what we're going to do is I'm going to run this off, and when we take the break later, which we will, we'll go in and we'll start looking at yours, and we'll do the best we can to get it loaded as fast as we can. All right. Now, it says here, if you've got this up, launch Git Bash, view. First of all, who wants to view release notes? So, no, just uncheck that. And click Finish. Don't have either one of them checked. Okay? Now, we are going to be using Git this semester. I want to show you very quickly the easiest way to use it. It's not pretty, but it works just fine. Okay? And that is, literally, I can just come in here and let's see what's the easiest way to do it. I should be able to right mouse click here and either say Git GUI or Git Bash. See that? I right mouse clicked on the screen. The one we're going to use most of the time is going to be Git Bash. So you click right there. Yeah, it brings it up in like a DOS-like window. All right. Don't worry about what it does, what it is, etc. We're going to look at all of it a little bit later. Okay? All right. So now this is what I've had classes do in the past. All this stuff that I just showed you. The next thing that we're going to do, this is something that they suggest from the St. Louis campus. I'm going to suggest we do it so we keep lockstep with them. Are we going to use this next product? It's a different way to do Git. I don't know, because I've never used it. But I'm going to download it as well. And that is, I'm going to come here, and again, I just want to prove this to you. You've already seen this, but when I show you my programs and features, what we're going to download right now is a product that's called Tortoise Git. But I just want to show you, I don't have it in here. I have never downloaded this before. I'm not worried about it, but you know, it's another way of doing Git in a more of a visual type of format. All right. So, but what I am going to do here is I'm going to come back up here like we just did, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to say Tortoise Git down, or I'll maybe Windows download. All right. And it said, did you mean this? Well, I guess I can't spell tortoise. Oh, it's one word. Okay. So that's the recommendation. If you've got, unless you've got a machine that's over 10 years old, you've probably got a 64-bit machine. All right. So I'm going to go here. This download Tortoise Git Windows Shell Interface. It's also under https://tortoisegit.org, and there'll be a download under there. Okay. So I'm right here, and again, there's a 32 and a 64-bit. I'm going to download the 64-bit. You see again, it's coming right here, and it's loading. I'm going to right mouse click and say open when done, just like we did before. I would download the 64-bit because the chances are real good that your machine's a 64-bit machine. All right. So comes up to here if you look on the screen, and again, very similar to what we did before. I'm going to just choose run. It says let's set it up. Now let's look at these. This again is just all the default, you know, all the different stuff. So what we're going to do, we're going to use the default settings. Okay. I don't know what any of them are, but it says Tortoise Git Pink based on PuTTY optimized. Okay, that's SSH. We probably will never even have to worry about that in here. So just choose the default one, click next. It says which of these do you want? And the way that these things are always broken up is you can always click up there which says everything. Maybe you only want certain things, and there might be something like these that you're not getting by default. See how they're X'd? We're just going to accept the default, and we're going to say next. All right, and it says click install to begin the install. If you want to review or change anything, you can go back again. So yes. All right, we're done. I'm not going to run this, so I'm going to uncheck this, and I'm going to click finish. So what we had to do here, just so you know, they've given me 9 steps I'm supposed to follow with you. We've done step 1, which was install Notepad++. We've done step 2, which is install the Git source control management system. We've done step 3, which is install Tortoise Git. So we've got the first 3 done. All right. Now it says, again, this is my piece of paper, not yours, but it says, now that you have both Git and Tortoise installed, you need to make some small configuration changes. So please look up on the screen here.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Okay, so in order to download Tortoise or open it, I have to download one of these apps to open it, apparently. Do you know what I should download? Do you have any idea?
The chances of me ever using any of those apps is about none.
Okay,
So you got two choices. You can pick one, or you can go back again and go back to your address bar and type in recommended package to use when downloading Tortoise Git on a Mac. All right. For the rest of you, again, come to your home screen, right mouse click. All right. Choose Tortoise Git. That's right there. And go over to settings. Any problems with that? Verify on here if you would. Verify. Look on the screen, please. Click on the word Git. Verify that this is your name. And ideally, this is your email address. It really should be your Rankin one. All right, so if you have a Hotmail or a Gmail or whatever, you really should change it to your insiderankin.org address.
What does it mean by inherit?
Where?
On the checkboxes?
To the right of your email.
I think what that means is if you have that stuff in a file someplace and you give it the file, it'll inherit it from it. I think that's what it means. All right, look on the screen if you would, please. If you click where it says Get here, see where I am? If you click this arrow underneath, it'll say credential. Please do that. And then click on the word credential. If it looks like this, that's right. That's what it should look like. All right. Under this helper, mine says advanced. Oh, that's interesting. Set the Git credential. Well, all I have is advanced. We actually, what does yours say?
Manager dash all one way.
That's what yours should be set to. Keegan, what's yours set to? And nothing else? And if you click down, there's nothing there? Nope. Do that.
Open settings.
I tried that. All it does is it opens. This is the settings. It opens this one again. You know what? We're going to leave it the way it is. And if there's a problem, I'll get a hold of Paul because mine's the same as yours. So if I have a problem, you'll probably have the same problem.
I go with advanced.
No, I would keep yours where it is. All right. I'm just going to click OK here. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. So we now have the first 4 steps done. Okay? Please look up on the screen again. Like I said, we'll go a little further and we'll take a break. All right. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into here, and again, I want to show you this. I currently have loaded on here. I don't know where it is. I have Visual Studio Code loaded, not Visual Studio Community. This is something else. But I'm looking for Visual Studio Code. It might be up here. There it is. See that? Microsoft Visual Studio Code? You probably don't have that. I think there's a version of this for the Mac too.
I think it's Xcode.
No, that's not the same thing.
You know what Xcode is?
Yes.
What's Xcode?
Xcode is what you can use if you want to build apps. Use, for an Apple. I know Xcode. I used to teach Xcode. No, that's not it. Okay, so I'm going to take my Visual Studio Code and I'm going to uninstall it. Says, are you completely sure? Yes, it's going to do the uninstall. If you, for some reason, were to have any of these things already installed, you don't have to uninstall them and reinstall them. You don't have to do that. All right, but if you notice now, it's gone. Okay, it's not there anymore. So, as I've done before with all the other things, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say Visual Studio Code, download, okay, and that brings me download Visual Studio Code.
Yeah, there's an app.
All right, so I'm right here, okay, and you should be able to just click this because I think by default this is going to do the installer and it's going to do the 64-bit one. All right, so I'm just going to click right there. Again, Maya, you'd click over here. All right, so I'm just going to click on that. Same kind of thing right here. It's coming in here, so I'm going to right mouse click on it and choose Open when done. Same kind of thing we did before. This is the recommended editor. This is the editor I'll be using. Okay? Should be just about ready. You've already seen this, so run. Again, you have to accept the agreement. Next. Where do you want it located? I'll again choose the default and then click next. And it says it'll create shortcuts. Is that okay? If you don't want them, just remove this or click here. I'll keep them, so I'll click next again. And it says, what do you want here? Do I want a desktop icon? In other words, do I want it on my desk? Sure. Do I want an open with code in Windows? This is all up to you. This is just extra things it'll add for you. All right. And I'm just going to do the first one. That's fine. So I'm going to click next, and I'm going to keep that add to path. This?
No, the next one.
This one. I believe that means that if you are in Windows Explorer and you right mouse click to bring up a context menu, one of the things on there will be Visual Studio Code.
What do you recommend doing?
Just the top one and the bottom one. The create a desktop icon and the add to path. All right. So I'm going to click next again. It says click install to start the install. I clicked it. It's now doing the install. Just so you're aware of this, this literally will be the only time we're going to be doing something like this. All right? In this class. Now, at the end of the semester, what we'll do as a class, and if you don't want to do this, it's up to you, but people always say, you know, it's with some people, it's like, okay, it's December. The last thing I want to do during this week or two I have off is think about this stuff. And I get that. Okay? There's other people who are like, you know, I'd like to kind of get started on it, take a look at it. And most people are somewhere in between. So what we'll do at the end of the semester is we'll go in and we'll install Visual Studio Community Edition. It's free. That's the actual integrated development environment that you'll use for the next 2 semesters. Then the last semester, or a year from spring, it'll be Android Studio. Okay? All right. So it says I'm done, so I'm going to click Finish.
You want to launch it too?
I think it automatically launches. Now yours isn't going to look like mine. I already have files that I've created in it, so don't worry about that. Yours might look totally different. Your interface, your background might be dark. I'm going to show you how to change all that stuff. to any way you want to change it. But I will tell you something, if you look up on the screen here, what this summer, Evan, who is my counterpart in St. Louis, and we had 2 week-long sessions, one in St. Louis, one here, where we taught simple web design to middle school students. The reason I'm telling you that is we use this editor, okay? The reason I'm telling you that is once we showed them how they could go in and change the way the editor looks, a lot of them did that. And with a lot of them, what they did was it's real pukey, and the stuff, some of the text comes in red. And I will tell you, these eyes, it's very hard for my eyes to see that if you choose that one. All right? So, we've just done the download. We did the default. If you haven't started it, okay, what you'll notice if you look down here, this is the icon that it added. See this? You notice my icons are almost the same? See this one and this one? That's Visual Studio. That's the integrated development environment you use for programming languages, basically. That is Visual Studio Code. So if you ever need to launch it, so in other words, if I wanted to launch another instance of it, I could right mouse click on here and just choose Visual Studio Code. Now I've got another one open. Does that make sense? All right. Close that, just leave this one up here. All right. Now, you don't have to do this, but we're going to install a bunch of what are called add-ons right now. We're going to do this, then we'll take a break. Now, which of these add-ons do you have to install? The recommendation is you install all of them. What if I don't want to? You don't have to install any of them. Does that make sense? An add-on means that it's easier for you to use. That's all. All right? So, let's see. It's interesting because the interface is different than the way it is on here. So, let's see. Okay, the first thing that we'll do, see this gear that's right here? You both have that, I take it for granted. Click the gear and go over, you can see it right here to where it says color theme. That's the background that you're going to have here and the color of your text. All right, so as it says, I don't know why you'd want to do a Control K and a Control T, but you can do that too. All right, so I'm just going to choose color theme. And it shows the different themes that are here. All right. Now, they recommend that you use the Abyss. See already what it did?
Right.
Yeah. And your code. So when I do new file, the code's white. If you like that, do that.
How do you check what color code is?
How do you check? Pardon?
How do you check what color the code is?
You're going to have to do a file and then create a new file.
Okay.
All right. If you don't like that, okay, you can choose any of these. Now, I'm going to go back to the light for one reason. When I tape, the dark doesn't show very well. See what I'm saying? It's hard to see on the tapes. That's the only reason. It doesn't matter to me which one I choose or you choose. All right, let's see. I'll choose that one. That's the Visual Studio Light. Okay, so that's changed now until you go back in and change it again. All right. Now it's interesting. If you look right here, it says this brings up an Explorer. You don't have to click it. This brings up Search. You don't have to click it. This brings up, it says Additional Views.
I have source control.
Well, you
I have source control, I have debug, and I have extension.
Well, look what I have.
Oh.
Okay.
Like they're all laid out.
Right. But what I'm telling you is if, with the way I've had this here, is this what yours looks like, Egan? Just click Extensions. This is where you can add different extensions. Okay? Now, you can also search for different extensions. The first one I'd recommend that you download. Again, I'm trying to make your life as easy for you to use as possible. So the first one I do recommend is the first one here, Beautify. Okay, and I want to show you quickly after we do it what Beautify does. So I'm going to click Beautify. All right, and it looks like that's already loaded. See, it's got the gear already. See that? So it's on mine. Yours might not have that. See, I had this loaded before. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And even though I uninstalled it, it kept a bunch of my settings.
Yeah.
So if yours says install right there, click the install button.
Okay.
All right. But what I want to show you is this. Look on the screen if you would. I'm going to do a new file. You don't have to do this, but I'm going to type a bunch of stuff. So, in fact, I'll do a file. Save as. I'm just going to throw it up on my desktop. Hello.html. All right. So now I come through here. I put in my H1, and I'll put in here. I don't know. Hello. H1. Okay. But when I start putting code in here, sooner or later the stuff's going to be a little bit mangled. You know what I mean? It's not going to line up. So what I'm able to do then is I can just come right through here, right mouse click, all right, and that's good. I'll show you in just a minute. We'll be able to come in and run the Beautify, and it'll pretty things up. Again, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. If you do want to do it, do it. All right. Now, I'm going to tell you the other ones that they suggest. Okay? You can download these. You don't have to. I'm going to click where it says Search Extensions In, and I'm going to type in here Code Spell Checker. You want to guess what that does? But it does spell checks on words that are used in different programming languages. Okay? So, for instance, if I wanted to write the word HTML and I spelled it wrong, it should automatically change it for me. Does that make sense? Okay? You can install it. It's Code Spell Check. All right? And I'm just going to click the Install button. It says that it's installing. When it's done, notice how it changed to the little gear. Everybody see that? All right. So we did Beautify. We did Code Spell Checker. The next one that's recommended is called CSS Peek. I'm not going to be able to show you that one until we start writing some CSS. It won't make any sense to talk to you about it until then.
Oh, P-E-E-K?
P-E-E-K. All right. We're going to take a break in about 5 minutes, and then we'll try to get back up to speed. So I'm going to install that one. All right. So now I've got the little gear there, so I know that's been installed. Next, we're going to type in Debugger for Chrome. And notice here it says debug your JavaScript. It's the first one. It says debugger for ... All right. That's just because I haven't given it enough room. See that? All right. So I'm going to install that. All right, we've got 1, 2, 3, about 6 more to install, then it's a break. Okay, so the next one we're going to install. Yes. The next one we're going to install is called ESL Lint. All right. These are all things that we're going to use later for JavaScript, so don't worry about for right now what they mean. All right, so after you've got ESL Lint, click Install. The next one we're going to install is JavaScript ES6 code snippets. You want to guess what that does? There'll be shortcuts later where if we press a key combination, it'll put in some code for us. We may still have to add our own code, okay, but it'll do that for us. There it is. So I'm going to click install on that. All right. You're both caught up, correct?
Yeah.
All right. The next one we're going to do is actually, this is the most important one that we're doing right now. It's called Live Server. 2 words. I've already got it installed. That's why I've got the gear there. Yours won't be installed, so you can install it right now. I'll be able to show you what that does later.
That'll let you look on my phone.
Pardon?
That'll like let you share our.
What that allows you to do is it's going to allow you to run your program without having to go back to your window. You can run it from right in here.
Okay, I thought it was like a way for you
No,
guys to-
for lack of better words, it's using your machine as a miniature server.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, so you've all got that?
Yeah.
All right, so the next one is npm by, let's see, we want the npm, the first one here that says npm support for VS Code. Okay? Not the commands one, but the support one. I don't think we're going to need this, but they're doing it in St. Louis, so we're doing it to be consistent here. So install that one, 2 more, and then we're breaking. All right, the next one, I wouldn't install this one. We already put in Beautify, but we're going to have another one that works like Beautify. It's called Prettier. All right,
Code formatter?
and again, you want the top one, code formatter, yeah, and click install. One more, and then that'll be it. Notice it's taking a little longer. It's a little longer install, so it's a little longer, bigger file.
These aren't like giant files. all
No.
over.
No, none of them are. If for some reason your machine ever slowed down that much, you can always go back here and uninstall them the same way that you did the installs. All right. Finally, the last one that we want to do then is VS Code icons.
Mine, please, go down that.
Yeah, if yours is still, I'll wait until you're done. No, that's totally fine.
Yeah, just pop it down a little. There we go. Let's go VS Code.
VS Code hyphen icons. Now look on the screen. You can already tell with Maya the one she's going to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So once you've got that, click install. Again, I don't know how long that one will take. All right, we're done in here, just so you know, we're done. So what you can do, it says thanks for installing these icons. Fine. But what's always recommended after you do an install is to close Visual Studio and then open it again. That updates the initialization file that's in there. So all I'm doing is I just closed it, and that's interesting, it removed my icon, but so now I've got it started up again. Okay, again, yours may not look like this. That's no big thing at all. All right. All right, let's take a break. I've got basically 9 o'clock on here. let's give her enough time so she can actually get to the other building.
Yeah.
So,
I need to see if I can buy a sweatshirt too.
well, if you want to walk over there too,
I'll
that's
walk
fine.
over there.
I'll tell you what, I'll give you a longer one than I normally. Let's come back at 9:20.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I gotta see what the